Good Wednesday afternoon on this November 18th, currently 2 o'clock p.m. This video will focus on Day 7 Weather Challenge, which looks to be somewhat interesting, although I haven't really taken a whole lot of a look. Okay, so let's review what happened last night. Temperatures did not fall a whole lot, which was expected, and only bottomed out at 74 degrees, which was the observed low, which was 1 degree higher than my predicted low, so good for me. It looks like the winds stayed up pretty much the entire night with a few clouds. The dew points were upper 60s, so definitely more moisture in the atmosphere. And so far this afternoon, temperatures have risen all the way up to 87 degrees as of 2 p.m. Well, the few clouds, mix of low-level clouds as well as high-level clouds. Low-level clouds being from the eastern fetch, and the upper-level clouds associated with the disturbance moving eastward. Wind so far, good moderate speeds, although I was hoping these winds would be a little higher. I had forecast 18 knots today. I'll have to see if the climate report has. Yesterday it only had 14 knots. So yeah, so far today 87 degrees. My forecast high is 89, so we'll see if that happens. With clouds moving in aloft. Compare this to yesterday. They were 86 at this. 86 at this time, and they maintained 86 right through 4 p.m. And that was even with some low-level clouds. So we'll see. They should at least stay at this value, if not go up a degree, maybe 2. We'll have to see. And the wind should stay relatively steady. So let's take a look at the satellite. So here's your cold front. And out ahead of it, you have a whole bunch of clouds and whatnot. Gulf of Mexico's open. You have moisture from the Atlantic streaming on in. See a lot better when this is animated. So our city is right here, and we have a few low-level clouds associated with the easterly flow. And there seems to be a little bit of a localized area of clouds just west of Tampa. It's pretty neat. Might be a few sprinkles associated with that. But what I'm most focused on is this area of cloudiness, which is starting to work its way into the region. Let's take a look at the infrared so we can decipher cloud height a little better. Most of these clouds out ahead are fairly high. They still have a ways to go. A couple hours probably. So a few more hours of sun expected for the rest of the day, up and through like 4 or 5 o'clock. So that would support temperatures possibly rising another degree or 2. We'll have to wait and see before this action arrives. Okay, so let's take a look at the forecast radar and satellite from the RPM. Looks like the 18Z run is starting to initialize. However, I want a full run, so we're going to check out the 15Z RPM. Okay. It's 20Z. It doesn't really show the low-level clouds over the area, but definitely shower activity and associated clouds just to the west. There's 20Z, so about 3 p.m. an hour from now. This looks okay. I don't know if these showers are actually around. I'll have to take a look. Let's keep forward. So yeah, a pretty drastic increase in clouds. 4 and 5 p.m. As there seems to be some sort of convergence between the pushing frontal system and the easterly fetch. And looks like we have some shower activity developing along the western coast of Florida, including Tampa. And this is 0Z now, so about 7 o'clock, when my day 7 forecast is due. Seems to be a decent area of showers and thunderstorms. It appears on or just east of Tampa, so we'll have to see where that sets up. And that persists for a while. Wow, this is a bit scary. I only had 0.3 of an inch of rain today. Not many people had more than that, so we'll see what happens with this. There's a lot of moisture, which we saw yesterday in the region. PWatts in the upper 1.7 or so. So enough convection will really rain out that moisture. So it looks like wherever this sets up, it kind of persists and trains over a certain area. So if this sets up over Tampa, then they're going to get deluged, inch or more rain as this front makes its way closer. Okay, here's 6Z. It looks like this area of convection is starting to dissipate a little bit. Still a lot of clouds in the area. Okay, so now we're to day 7. That band of rain convection is pretty much out of the area, although the front itself is still back to the west. Let's continue to forward things in time. So tonight, I think, will be dominated with clouds. Low temperature will probably be fairly high. Temperatures won't fall too much. And then it looks like during the day on Thursday, there will be a good amount of cloudiness, as it looks like this front kind of just slows and almost stalls. So there probably won't be much warming tomorrow due to the clouds and maybe a few showers. This individual model run doesn't really show a whole lot of organized activity over the Tampa area. However, just to the west and north, there's a good batch of rain. Looks like that should make its way into the area towards the end of tomorrow. Although, yeah, that's with the front itself eventually moving through. This is 0Z tomorrow. So it takes the entire day to move through. So that has quite an impact on tomorrow's weather. And then afterwards, still on day 7, looks like clouds linger a little bit, so they don't, the option of a second 6Z low, I'll have to take a closer look, but yeah, I think the diurnal range, the 24-hour diurnal range is going to be very low for day 7, just based on the amount of cloud cover. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the timeout cross sections. I've already taken a look at the 12Z NAM RH. Beware, there's a lot of saturation to be had, all the way up through 500 millibars, completely saturated. That's all cloud, and you're not warming up at all through that layer. Let's take a look at the GFS. It's not quite as saturated. In the RPM satellite, definitely did not have stratiform deck of clouds over them the entire day. A lot of pockets. But again, they are ahead of the front at this time. So the area of lift associated with it will be fairly close. And moisture will still be around. Okay. Again, it looks like fairly good amount of moisture through the entire day. So a small diurnal range, perhaps. Take a look at the precipitable water. So yeah, the NAM really has those PWatts spiking up to 2.4 inches. Yeah, you don't usually see that anywhere else but Florida. It's pretty rare, and that would definitely support heavy rainfall rates. Even tonight, when the RPM was showing some serious rainfall, PWatts get up to about 2.3 inches, supporting heavy rainfall rates. Let's see. Yeah, it's a good amount of lift, especially tomorrow. Tomorrow, wow, looks like the NAM has a washed out completely. Holy moly. Yeah, that's 2 inches more of rain, and it rains all day. Um, GFS, let's compare the vertical velocity. Huh. So, much less than the GFS. So I'm sure there'll be less rain. Yeah. Hardly any, just quarter inch or less. So we can take a comparison. Yep. So yeah, comparing model runs between the NAM and GFS. The 12Z NAM seems to be an outlier as far as rainfall amounts. 12Z GFS again, less than a quarter inch. The 6Z NAM was about 0.4, not 2 inches, or roughly about. So we'll have to see how that trends with the 18Z run. And I want to take a look at the USL, see what that has to say. Again, looks like the front takes all day to cross the area. So availability of moisture and lift will be there. So it's definitely a tough call. So we can get a good idea of the frontal time on the for the wind profile. So the NAM, it looks like there's some sort of frontal passage around here. So you go from southwest wind, light southwest wind, to a northerly wind. And this happens around 21Z or so. And the NAM, the GFS, about the same, I'd say. South-southwest wind, shifting west, and then eventually northwest, and then north. So decent agreement on that, on the frontal passage time. Take a look at the temperature, although this won't show much. So probably the best parameter to look at is the lower level wind profile to get any idea of the frontal timing. You can also take a look at this real quickly. So about 3Z or so. The front is pretty much passed. Okay. And so the majority of the day will be in a prefrontal environment. Now the question is, it's tough, really tough. There's already a good batch of rain associated. Look at all this rain associated with the front. And you'll also have the onshore flow, or the easterly flow, adding in moisture. So a little bit of lift with that really creates impressive rainfall. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, without any sun tomorrow, you're not going to have any real instability. So it's tough. Let's take a look at again the simulated radar of the NAM just to see what it has, instead of just looking at it from a time I cross perspective. Sim reflectivity, and we got to go to the southeast sector. Okay. All right. So this is 1821Z still today, and development of showers along the west coast, largely due to the easterly fetch moisture then an increased southerly flow as the front approaches. So that front, it looks like it tends to dry out. So the rainfall associated with the front tends to dry out, and then it seems to pick up more moisture from the south, and that seems to get focused right over Florida. Where in Florida? Who knows? This is 60 tonight. So the organized area of rain, which the RPM also showed, pretty much in the same area, at or just to the east of Tampa. And then that activity kind of maintains itself, and then once the front and associated extra lift approaches, rainfall just continues. And then the front, passes this through by 3Z or so, 0Z, 3Z. And rainfall is done. So the NAM really isn't working with much of the way of a convection aspect. It's the lack of sun. So it's more of a development of rain just from the associated lift of the front and available moisture. It's very tricky. The RPM didn't really show much in the way of rainfall during the day tomorrow. So here's the front and prefrontal environment. So there's definitely holes in the clouds, so this would support some diabetic heating from the sun, which would increase the instability. So when the front eventually arrives, we would get some pretty good rainfall rates, good thunderstorms. Tough. Not much agreement. The GFS just is really not providing much, a lot of low-level moisture. So while this is not saturated, there's a lot of moisture. However, there isn't a lot of lift associated with the moisture to help, bring out precipitation. And the NAM has considerably more lift. I think it'll just come down to seeing how the model trends with the 18-0 monitoring the RPM. Let's also take a look at the USL in a little bit. Take a quick look at temperatures, and then I'll throw up the USL. So looking at the time at cross sections, the NAM had a saturated layer up to 500 millibars, so zero warming from sun whatsoever. GFS probably was a little more warming, because it had some more sun. So, which would help support convective activity later in the day. Well, it doesn't really show that, although GFS is a lower resolution model, so it probably would never show it. Yeah, so I'm sure the GFS is a lot warmer with the high tomorrow than the NAM. The low, I think the low will be warmer than last night due to a lot more clouds. Winds seem to be pretty light overnight, but again, clouds especially, NAM, and rain. Yeah, the temperature shouldn't fall too much overnight tonight. Probably not even between this window. We'll see. Winds do become northerly, very light though. And P watts do drop, so there'll be some dry advection coming in. I'm not sure how cold an air mass is coming in. No real big drop off from the time I cross section, so cold advection seems to be pretty dismal. Okay. Okay, so the NAM dropped some pretty Okay, the NAM Moss hasn't gotten down to 72. This line right here, it kind of just has the temperature just on a non-diurnal trend. So looks like the high would occur at 60 and then gradually fall through the day, and then your lows occurring the second 60 period. Yeah, and that diurnal range is about 4 degrees, so like 73 to 76. The GFS, I'm sure, is a lot different with the sun. So the GFS gets up to the lower 80s, and your high definitely occurs, where it should. And then a second 60 low, although not too far off from the first 60. Although I think the first 60 temperature is going to be fairly mild. We'll have to keep an eye on the temperature as we approach 0Z. A good indicator. A lot of moisture. Completely split, but yeah, both models definitely, by 0Z, PWatts are up to 2 inches. Really, really poor radiation cooling conditions, despite the lack of wind in the boundary layer. Although the GFS is a little breezy, for sure. NAM really not much. And quick look at the afternoon winds with the rain, keeping things relatively stable. While there is a decent area of wind, wouldn't really be able to get to the ground. GFS, if anything, definitely less than today on the wind. Okay. So let's take a look at the USL. I really want to see what it has, because the NAM and GFS don't agree whatsoever. Okay, so then USL has 0.86, and it's raining all day. For the most part, overcast skies, although it's still showing temperatures increasing with a little bit of sun getting through. Do we have a stratiform deck of clouds like the NAM has? A quick look at cloud fraction. Yeah, this is stratiform. Or, breaks of clouds like the RPM has. All these holes in the clouds where the sun can get in and quickly warm things up. I'm sure the GFS had a similar idea. Tricky. But yeah, sky cover, greater than 90%. Usually, mostly overcast. I think the radiation around 200 watts per meter squared. So this model is showing some sun getting through, although that's not a lot. And with rain, constantly keeping things on the cooler side. And then 75, 74. So it looks like this agrees. So yeah, the temperatures really don't drop off at all. 75. Dew points creeping up, 74 degrees. That is disgusting. Winds generally light throughout the day. Oh boy, a lot to consider. Not much agreement. I think the best thing to do is not go crazy. Try to forecast what others are going to forecast. And that usually revolves around the USL. We'll see how the trends are between now and when the 22Z USL comes out. Is this number higher or smaller? What happens with temperature, clouds, in this RNet category. It gives you a good indication of what type of clouds you're going to have tomorrow. You're going to have scattered clouds, or you're going to have a stratiform deck, which would prevent much, if at all, any incoming radiation to warm the surface. Stratiform deck would not allow warming at all, so your temperatures would start at 76 and probably hover around there, and then gradually fall to around 74 degrees or lower. the NAM had. Yeah, about 73 or so. 72. It's tricky. Very, very tricky. I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out which model you think has a better idea or what you think will happen. All right.